Today, we're going to explore a really deep and honestly a kind of unsettling question from the Quran. How is it possible for a people to be miraculously rescued by God, to witness things that defy belief, and yet their hearts don't change? In fact, they might even get harder.
So let's begin, as we always should, by seeking refuge in God from anything that might pull our hearts away from understanding.
In the name of Allah, the source of all mercy, the one whose compassion is beyond our imagination, let's begin this journey.
Okay, this right here, this quote really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. It's such a powerful idea, isn't it? We always think that escaping a bad situation is the finish line. But what if it's actually the starting line? What if being set free is the very thing that shows us all the inner chains we never even knew we were carrying?
To really unpack this, we're going to turn to the story of the children of Israel, especially as it's told in Sūrah al-Baqarah. It's this incredible story of God's miracles getting bigger and bigger, while at the same time, the people's patience gets smaller and smaller. It's a story where the more God provides, the more the human heart seems to argue back.
I mean, just look at this journey. First, they're rescued from the absolute horror of Pharaoh's tyranny. Then, they literally watch the sea part in two for them, an unbelievable miracle. And yet, soon after, they're building a golden calf to worship. Then, God sends them food from the sky, manna. And what happens? They complain. They ask for the regular, boring food they used to have back in Egypt. It's a truly stunning series of events.
So how on earth do we make sense of this? Well, we can look at it on two levels. The outer level, the Zahir, is pretty straightforward. It's a historical story about a group of people and their ingratitude. But the inner level, the Batin, now that's the Sufi way. It sees this not just as history, but as a map, an anatomy of the human soul itself. And that's where we're really going to focus.
First, though, let's take a look at that classical outer view. How did the great scholars of the past understand this story? For them, it was a crystal clear example of what happens when you're suddenly given freedom. It's a test.
And what's so fascinating is how these incredible minds all landed on a similar idea. Al-Tabari points out that just because the outer oppression was gone, it didn't mean their inner need for servitude was gone. Ibn Kathir says something so brilliant. The golden calf wasn't just a simple mistake, it was a kind of nostalgia, a longing for a God they could see and feel like they could control. And Al-Razi adds this crucial piece: miracles without spiritual training don't just create gratitude, they can actually make your desires grow even bigger. The main point they all saw: freedom didn't fix them, it just revealed what was already broken inside.
Okay, so that's the outer layer. Now let's peel it back and go deeper. The Sufi masters took this story and turned it inward, looking not at ancient history, but right into the landscape of our own hearts.
And this right here illustrates the idea perfectly. Think of Pharaoh as the outer tyrant. You know, the difficult boss, the oppressive situation, that external thing that holds you down. But the golden calf? That's the inner idol. That's our own ego, our own cravings, our attachments. It doesn't shout at us from the outside. It whispers to us from within, long after the outer tyrant is gone.
Wow, just let that sink in for a second. The great Sufi master al-Qashri just nails it with this one line. You can physically escape the oppressor, you can leave the land, but getting the mindset of oppression out of your heart, that's a whole other battle.
And Rumi builds on this so beautifully. He says that when that external force, the whip, is gone, something else takes its place. Our own desire, our own ego becomes the new master. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? That we can become our own tyrants, maybe even missing the strange comfort of our old prison.
So, what about that whole complaining about the food? Asking for onions and garlic when you're getting heavenly manna? Masters like Al-Ghazali explain this is just the nature of our nafs, our ego self. It's not that the ego gets tired of blessings, it gets tired of the sameness of blessings. The complaint wasn't really about the food, it was a kind of spiritual boredom, a deep-seated rejection of the peaceful consistency that comes from God.
And this is where the story stops being about them, way back then, and starts being about us, right here, right now. The Quran is a mirror, and it's time to turn that mirror on ourselves. This is really the heart of it all. When God takes a difficulty out of your life, maybe it's a toxic job, a painful relationship, some heavy trial, what part of you, in the quietest moments, actually misses it?
And you might think, why on earth would I miss something that was painful? But think about it. Was it the familiarity of it? The pain was at least predictable. The chains were heavy, sure, but you knew them. That little idol you served might not have asked for much, but it promised this false sense of comfort, this illusion of control that the wide-open space of real freedom just doesn't have.
And that brings us to the real punchline of this whole exploration. Leaving your Egypt, leaving the place of your oppression, that's one thing. But leaving the need for Egypt, leaving the need for a pharaoh, for a chain, for something to define yourself against, well, that's the real journey to freedom.
So, with that reflection sitting in our hearts, let's just end with a prayer. A whispered conversation, a munajat, asking for the strength to be truly, deeply free.
O breaker of seas, break what still enslaves us. Do not let our longing return us to the chains you shattered. Amen.
Thank you so much for joining me for this exploration. All of these insights were beautifully compiled by Mir Ali Shah for Living the Wisdom of the Quran. I really encourage you to seek out his work if you want to go deeper into these ideas.